Hi everybody, it's Erin from Epapere and welcome back to our channel. Today is the second video in our color theory series for junk journaling and paper crafting. Today I am going to teach you about the color wheel, and how to use it to incorporate materials together for your junk journaling projects. I'm also going to teach you about hues, tints, shades, and tones. And then we're going to use all of those items in a project together to create a pleasing monochromatic color harmony for a piece of ephemera. So let's get to it. This is the part of the guide that I have put together. It includes a color wheel. It includes a color wheel with some terms defined. It includes definitions for all of the color harmonies at a glance. And we're going to be talking about color harmonies in the next video. And then for the next video, I have the remainder of the 8-page guide, so there's 5 more pages, which have all of the color harmonies in more detail and examples of different color palettes in those color harmonies. So I'm going to save those sheets for the next couple of videos, and we're just going to concentrate on the first 3 today. So when we were in school, for those of us that had some art theory in school, you probably learned about the color wheel, and you probably learned about our 3 primary colors. We've got red, yellow, and blue. And that's the color wheel we all learned, or most of us probably learned. And we learned that when we mix red and yellow, we get orange. And when we mix yellow and blue, we get green. And we mix blue and red, we get purple. And those are called secondary colors. And then if you start mixing more, you get tertiary colors, and the list kind of goes on. And as a young artist myself, I got a little bit frustrated when I was painting, because although when using my paints, I can get, I'm going to get some red in here, and the yellow that I was using, where is it? It's this one. This is the red and the yellow that I was using, okay? And it's a pretty decent orange. So that one looked okay. You know, that's pretty decent orange. You know, play around with the colors a little bit. And sometimes when I mixed I'm going to put my yellow back down here, right? And then I'm going to go to the blue that I was using. This green, depending on the colors that I was starting with, that's not always what you're looking for. That's can work if you're doing certain things. You know, if you're working with very earthy colors, landscape paintings and so on, that might work okay, but that's not very vibrant. Where do those vibrant greens, you know, like where do we get this color from? I can't get that from this blue and this yellow. And likewise, when I'm working with that primary red again and that primary blue, this purple, okay, well, this purple actually is kind of pretty, but it's still not exactly, you know, it's not that. And by the way, how are we supposed to get things like this? Or this? There just seems to be some things missing. So it wasn't actually until I entered college that I was introduced to other color wheels than this. I'm going to set this aside. And one of the color wheels I was introduced to was what was called at the time the light color wheel. And that one included a color called cyan as one of its primary colors, and magenta and yellow. Those were its three primary colors. And their opposites were red, green, and blue. So if you're paying close attention, cyan, C for cyan, M for magenta, Y for yellow, CMY, and RGB. So if you are paying close attention to your computer or printer, you have probably seen those acronyms before: CMY, K for black, and RGB. Okay, so in reality, this is kind of the spectrum that we're working with, and this gives us a more well-rounded set of colors. So I've put this color wheel together. I did not invent this. There are other people who have color wheels and, you know, that are similar to this, but this one includes red, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, cyan, green, cyan, cyan, blue, blue, violet, magenta, and red magenta. And then I've included some neutrals, black, white, creams, and grays, and then some alternative neutrals, which we'll discuss in the final video, navy, browns, and olive. So this is the color wheel that I'm going to be working with. And this, for me, gives us kind of that full range of color, including those ones that I wasn't able to mix those with my traditional primaries in here. With the addition of these colors, you can get all of those other colors. Not that you're going to be mixing paints necessarily, but you know, what if I would have picked up a piece of paper with one of these colors on it? Would I have been able to place it on this color wheel and figure out color relationships? You know, probably would have been a little bit more difficult. So this is what we're working with. And the way that I use this larger color wheel is that, you know, if I'm working with a piece of paper and I'm kind of trying to figure out, okay, well, geez, is this blue or is it more violet? And I can kind of, you know, like a paint chip, match it up. And I know from my color wheel here that this is kind of in that spectrum. It's more violet-y than it is blue, you know? So then I know when I'm looking for colors that are going to go well with this, I'm going to want to look for color relationships that go well with violet instead of blue. Okay, so that's an example of how I would use this. So, you know, I picked up a package of Astro Brights paper just to have some really saturated bright paper for examples here, but I also want to show this to you guys with papers that we're actually working with, right? So here I've got, this is a very muted piece of paper. It's got some different texture on it. The color shows up just a little bit differently. So again, though, I can kind of take it along this color wheel, and I'm kind of looking, and boy, this is kind of looking, I think, cyan green, you know. So I know that if I'm trying to find some things to go with this, I'm going to look for relationships that go with cyan green. You know, this one, is it red? Is it magenta? Is it red magenta? You know, so you can kind of match it up, and I think this one goes really well Yep, red magenta, you know, for example. Yellows and oranges, especially when they get very muted, can be difficult sometimes. This is obviously a yellow. Prints. How do you do prints? Well, the nice thing about a print is that oftentimes you've already got your color palette working in there, so you can just pull colors from that color palette. But what if I don't have a pink that exactly matches that pink? Well, I can use my color wheel to find out where this pink is. Okay, so this is a red magenta. Okay, well, golly, this paper was also a red magenta. It's in this column here, right? So chances are, even if you think these two pieces might not go together, chances are they probably do. They probably do. So that's just a few ways that I might use my color wheel while I'm working. Now, I kind of know a lot of this stuff intuitively. As you practice, you're going to start, you know, understanding these color relationships more intuitively. And as you get better and better and more practiced at this, you may be able to kind of set this aside and, you know, do this without having the color wheel right in front of you. But it's a really helpful tool. I've gotten water on this already. I don't have page protectors on this right now because I didn't want it glaring for the camera, but you would probably want to put, you know, page protectors on yours just so that it gets protected from all the media that you're using. So I'm going to set this page aside, and I'm moving on to talking about some color theory terms. So let's, and you've probably heard all of these. If you've done any painting, or if you've selected paints for your home, if you've done any photo editing, or if you've tweaked around with your printer at all, you know, you've probably come across these terms, but a lot of people don't really understand what it is they actually mean. So let's talk about that so that you have a better idea of what it is that you're working with. So hue, H-U-E, hue is a color's position around the wheel, and it's its brightest, purest version. On our wheel, that brightest, purest version is on the very end and in the very center. So that's its position around the wheel. Okay, so in this case, it's on red magenta, red, orange, you know, all of those. So it's position around the wheel. Okay. Next, saturation. This can also be called chroma, but I think most of us typically use saturation. This is how bright or faded a color is. So, you know, whether a color is in its brightest form or it might be grayed out or faded, that is high saturation, and some of these are lower saturation. Okay. All right. A tint is a color that is made by mixing a hue with white. So if I mix yellow green with white, I'll get it's covered by the bubble. So let's use this one. If I mix green with white, I'm going to get, you know, a color similar to this. Okay. If I mix a blue with white, I'm going to get color similar to that, and so on. That's how we get pastels. Okay. A shade is a color that is made by mixing a hue with black. So it's kind of the opposite of a tint. So those colors, I've got kind of a ring around here that shows you some examples of shades. Just like that. And I'm going to do some demonstration with the watercolors as well. And then, of course, we have to have gray, because if you mix with white or black, there's got to be something that's gray. So that's what we call a tone. A tone is a color that's made by mixing a hue with gray. And there's a ring of grays around here too, so that you can see, what some tones might look like. Now, is that all we have for colors? No, because between here and any other color on the wheel, there's also a full spectrum of colors. By mixing this color with, you know, let's say this color right across it, you know, in different increments, you're going to get a whole myriad of colors in there as well. So, but again, that's more advanced color theory. We're keeping it very, very basic. So everything will loosely fit on this wheel somewhere, but you may find that some things might fit a little bit, you know, on the border between two, and in that case you can kind of work either way, or, you know, whatever. So it's, again, it's high level. It's meant to be kind of a starting point for you to then kind of make some of your own decisions. Okay. Now, you probably also know that colors also have a temperature. We've got warm colors on this half of the wheel, and we've got cool colors on this half of the wheel. So that's also something to keep in mind, because every color and, you know, whether it's got a different temperature, or whether it's in the green family or the blue family, they all do something different to us psychologically. They all kind of give us different messages. You know, in some cultures, they might represent different things. So, you know, color is very interesting to study. And so if you're looking for some good resources, let me know, and I will find some and put together maybe a book list or a good list of YouTube videos. So at any rate, there's your basic color vocabulary that we're going to be using. So hue, saturation, tint, shade, and tone, and temperature. Okay? Set this one aside. And we're just going to cover very, very quickly using color harmonies. We're going to dive deeper into this in our next video. So just quickly, what is a color harmony? A color harmony is an aesthetically pleasing combination of colors based on known formulas. They always work. Why do they always work? Because there is a relationship between these colors. This is where I say there's science behind it. It's the science. It just works, you know? And why it works is more than what I know to teach you. I just know that they work. So we've got monochromatic, complementary, split complementary, triadic, tetradic, and analogous. If that seems like a lot, I'm going to explain it all to you in our next video. But for today, let's play around just with tints, shades, and tones. I have got some scraps of just mixed media paper. I like to do some watercolor backgrounds on just paper, and then I can stamp on it, and then that stuff is you know, what I can use for tags and cards and all that good stuff. So I am going to grab a larger brush, because the one that I was working with is rather small. And so let's pick a color. And we can really pick any color in, you know, my watercolor palette that I want. If you're interested in what watercolor palette I'm using, this is Paul Rubens. It is a very nice kind of mid-priced water palette, and I can put the link for you to Amazon where I purchased this in the description of the video. But let's start with red. Red is really interesting because you do get pinks from red and also magenta, but they're going to look a little differently as a tint, okay? So I'm going to start with the brightest saturation of red, and I'm going to make a stripe here. And what I'm going to do is just add water, because this is watercolor. I don't actually have to mix white into it. I can just kind of put the water down on the paper and let the watercolor run into it, and you'll start seeing those tints of this red on that side of the card. But what would happen if we did actually mix white? So I'm going to actually clear a space in my mixing area. Okay. Grab some white and get it into the mixing area. I'm going to grab some red. This is the red we were using. Just need a little bit. If you're a painter, when you're mixing colors, mix the darker color into the lighter color. And the darker color you need very, very little. So we can see that this is a pink, but it's a very warm pink. That's how you can get warm pinks and cool pinks, right? Whether a pink is made out of a red or a magenta. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my brush out and I'm going to grab some more white and see if we can lighten that up a little bit. Yep, there we go. So that's tint. I'm going to set this aside and let that dry and mop up my mess. Grab another slice of paper here. Let's take that same red and work with shades now. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of that red and let's just kind of do some fun stuff, right? Okay, so there's our fully saturated red. Now I'm going to grab some of that red and put it in my mixing area. Rinse out my brush and I'm going to go all the way over to black and just grab a little bit and mix it in. So now I have a shade of red, which if you're paying attention, I'm going to grab some more black now so I can make it darker. Paying attention, adding just a little bit of black to red almost makes kind of like a deep, plummy. So some of those darker burgundies and maroons are actually kind of just darker shades of red. So keep that in mind as you're looking to mix color. Okay. So what about tones? I'm going to work on this same sheet of paper and I've already got black mixed with red over here. I'm going to add a little bit more red. Add a little bit more red back into this. Okay. And I'm going to also grab some white. Black plus white makes gray. So we now have a tone of red. Just going to grab just a touch more of the red here. I want that just a little bit brighter. Okay, but you see how these all blend really nicely together. Now I can grab some more black. I can touch some more black in here. Just kind of get that to swirl around a little bit. Spray some water on. Drop some more of my mixture. Grab some more of the full-on saturated red. Put that in there. Okay. Grab some more water here. Put some drippy drops in there. I want those to kind of play around a little bit. And then I'm going to just kind of let this all mix together. Have some fun. And I'm going to go ahead and dry this. So all right, so, and look at that. We've got something that is very beautiful and very interesting. Look at all of the differences in the colors that we've gotten just by using our primary red, white, and black. And we've just got some gorgeous, gorgeous variation of color in here, and it's much more interesting. This is what I will teach you about one color harmony today because it's very, very simple. This is what we call a monochromatic color palette, and that means that it includes only one hue and its shades, tints, and tones. So this is what we would call a monochromatic color palette because it only includes the one red and, you know, combinations of that red with black, white, and gray. Okay. Shall we make a tag from this? Let's do that. So I already have a tag base here. I'm gonna actually clean that up so I can close my palette. And set that to the side. Is this one dry yet? Because I might want to use that. Let me just dry this quick. All right. So I have this tag base, and why not? I'm going to start with a little bit of book page. And for our purposes in paper crafting, I'm always going to consider book page to be a neutral. And I don't know why I ripped it like that. Guess I'm getting excited. I'm going to tear my margins off. Like that. And like it to be at the top like that. There's no plan here, folks. As per usual. No plan. I want my text going up and down today. I'm going to peel that off and try and get that on straight. Let's move it over a smidge and then I'll trim it. There we go. Scissors out and just trim this to shape. There we go. I get some sticky on there. Should have gotten a... I should have used a glue book page. Okay. All right, now the next thing I want to do, I'm going to play with a punch that I just got. I just found this at a thrift shop. It was brand new in the package. So I'm going to make some punches out of the papers that I just made. And make a mosaic. I don't know how many of these I'll need, but I figure if I make some out of the most interesting bits of the paper, should make for a pretty cool tag, right? Let's see what we've got here. So, I was kind of thinking of lining one like this and then starting to build it around like so. Yep, I think that's what I want to do. All right, so I'm going to take out my glitter glue, and I think I want to ink. Do I want to ink with walnut stain or black soot? I want to ink with walnut stain. I'm feeling it today. This has got probably a little bit of green on it, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so I got this piece, and I'm just gonna glue this little bitty bit, this little one little side here, and I'm going to line that edge up right with where that corner comes down, and line those two corners up. So that's how I know my design, darn it, that's how I know my design is going to be straight. There we go. So pushing that down. Okay. So there's my first anchor piece in place. So next one, how did I do the next one? This was down this way, yeah? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna ink this one up. And glue. I'm just being weird about how I put it down because I'm going to leave just the tiniest little bit of space in between these tiles. Okay. All right, next one. Okay. And that one goes over here. Let's see, now that one's going to overlay the edge a little bit, so I'm going to glue everything but that edge. Okay. That one just leaving where my fingers are open. And still remaining pretty straight here. That's good. Glued down. Make sure we're not glued to the back. Wipe the schmutz. All right, I want to get my center in place. Which one of these is prettier? They're both interesting. I think I like this one better. So ink. This one should be wholly on the tag. Just getting some. Okay. There we go. So what I'm going to do before I use up any more whole shapes is I'm going to trim these because I'll be able to use the scraps from these, I think, to finish this composition off here. Let's give the whole tag go around here with the walnut stain and inker here. There we go, I think that. There. That's a really nice tag base. I think we could do some more to decorate it, but I think it demonstrates the concept. So, hi everybody, this is Erin. As I'm editing the video, I just wanted to freeze here, chime in and tell you that I did decide after I was done shooting to go back and decorate this tag. So if you want to see how that turned out, make sure you tune in to the next video and I will share that. So come on back. There you have it. We worked today with the color wheel. We learned about hues, saturation, tints, shades, and tones, and a monochromatic color harmony in this video. So I hope you found this helpful. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of our videos, I hope you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell, because I will be making 2 more videos in this series of color theory. Next video we will be learning the rules of color theory in terms of using all of the color harmonies. So again, there will be, you know, more complex or more sophisticated color harmonies in the next video, and I will be making a project to show each one of those. And in the final video, I'm going to show some ways where you can take the concepts that we've learned so far and then, you know, kick that up a notch, break the rules, so to speak. So again, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and we will see you soon. Bye.